Okay, y'all, today I'm making homemade fried apple pies. And these are the apples that we canned last year. I will share a link to it down below so y'all can go and watch how to can apples. But we made these last year and we canned them, and this is what we've got left. So I'm going to make us some fried apple pies with them. Look how pretty they look. And that's being already 1 year old. So come on and let's make us some fried apple pies, y'all. And we're going to be using our canned apples that we put up last year. We've got a video and I'll link it down below on how we made our canned apples. But let me turn y'all around here and we'll get to cooking. And I'm going to show y'all just how easy it is to make homemade fried apple pies the old-fashioned way. So let me show y'all everything it takes and what you're going to start doing first to your apples. And to start with, you got to get this, we got to take these lids off, and you got to make sure you hear that sound, and I'll show you the sound I'm talking about. Here's my little gadget I'm going to use. Most everybody has one of these. If you don't, I think you can still buy them. And if not, just any old can opener will work, because most of them have that little end on it. But what you're going to do is you're going to hope you get your jar open. Okay, but first go ahead and undo all the rims off your jars of your apples that you canned. Get all those rims off. And then you'll take your little gadget thing right here that you got. I really don't know what to call it, but so here's our apples, and I wanted to show y'all that sound that you'll hear. Here I go. That means your apples were canned right and have been preserved for a year. And then here's another little thing you can do to can food. You can pick it up by the lid once you take the rim off, and look, it won't even, I'm holding nothing but that gold rim, and it won't even let go. That is a good seal. All right, let's pop that one open. There it goes. And I'll go ahead and get the other two because I'm using all 4 of these apples. All right, we all got good seals. Gonna set those to the side. Now we're gonna come over here and we're gonna get these apples starting to cook. I'll even show y'all this too, if I can without spilling it. Look how pretty those apples are in there. Okay, now let's come over here and get them started. We're going to be using 2. One to cook the apples in and one to fry the pies in. Okay? To start with, we're going to go ahead and turn our oven on like a medium low and let it start getting warm. And I'm going to go ahead now and add I'm going to put a whole stick of butter in my apples. That pan's already getting hot, so that won't take but a minute for that butter to start melting down. And then once that butter melts down, we're going to add our other ingredients. Already melted, so I'm going to start adding in my apples. And I'm going to add in the juice and all. So we're just going to start pouring those in there real gently. Try not to splash the juice, but we want that juice. Just get them started and they'll just come right out of there. And we're going to use all 4 of these. One more. I got to get one more in there. I'm going to go ahead, actually, before I add that last one, and go ahead and I'm going to add my 1 cup of brown sugar, the light brown sugar, and get it in the apples. 1 cup of light brown sugar. Okay, and to that, then I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of cinnamon. And sprinkle that in. And then we'll even use this same little measuring spoon that we used and mix that in. See all that butter floating in it? Ooh, this is gonna be good, y'all. Just like your mama did and your granny. Or like when you used to go to fairs and you'd have a fried apple pie, or church. A lot of churches used to sell them, and festivals. And now that we got all that in there and got all that cinnamon and the sugar mix, we're going to go ahead and add our last jar. And we're going to let that start cooking down. Just give it a mix, and that's full, but it'll work. Because it's just going to start cooking down in that skillet. And all that juice will disappear. I got to bring y'all over here and let you see that, how pretty it is. Look at those beautiful canned apples. All right, let's let that start boiling down and letting a lot of that juice disappear in it and cook down. And now we've got to start making our crust, our dough for our crust. Okay, now we're fixing to make our dough up. And what we're going to use is all-purpose flour. And I'm going to use 4 cups of all-purpose flour. And we're going to keep this out because we're going to need it for the counter later on in the recipe. And then to that flour, I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. Because that's all-purpose flour. It don't have anything in it. So 1 tablespoon of baking powder. And we're going to add a little salt, some pink salt to it. We're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then we've got to grate our butter because it's froze, but that's how I want it. I wanted it froze so I can grate it. I can't get it open. There it goes. And I'm going to use the paper to hold on to. And we're just going to grate our butter. Get this mess cleaned up. And I'll bring y'all back. It's smelling so good in here right now. Now I'm just giving the flour mixture a good mix before we add our butter and our milk. Okay. And I'm just going to use my hands. I'm going to go ahead and start mixing in my butter. And some of that butter's already getting soft, so it's sticking to the bowl. So I put a little flour in it to get my butter out of there. That'll help get that butter loose. If you just sprinkle your little flour on top of that butter. And then we're just going to start folding in that butter into that flour. There's that little piece that I didn't finish grating when it got too close to my fingers. And we'll just start adding our milk. Little pieces and bits to try to incorporate it into. Okay, once you get your dough formed into the ball, then you're going to take it and dust your counter just real lightly. And don't make a mess, even though you've already dusted yourself and your phone and everything else. Just do it real good and neatly. And then we're going to start working our dough. And then we're going to divide our dough up. And the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to sort of make it a long oval shape. And I'm going to cut it down the center. And then I'm going to cut it into little pieces. And that right there will be my pies. And I may have to cut a couple of these a little smaller. But that's how we're going to start out so far. Keep your counter or work area dusted good. And then we're going to take our rolling pin and we're going to dust it a little. Keep it dusted, it won't stick as bad. I got to move these over some. But we're going to start rolling this one out and see what we get. I think this one's going to be a circle like I want. And you want them you don't want them thick like that. You want them thin. See how thick that is? Once I get this rolled out, I'm going to show y'all what we're going to do. Okay, that's how I want it right there. That's how the thickness I want. Now I'm going to take this bowl and I'm going to dust a little bit of flour on the edge of it. And then I'm going to use this to cut my circle. And what I'll have to do is just take this knife and just go around real gently and cut the circle. And then I'll just have me a perfect round crust for my pie. Let's make another one. I just wanted to demonstrate that one for y'all so you can see how I was trying to get my circle to be shaped. So dust your counter. Take your dough. Make it into the sort of the shape you're trying to get it to. And it's going to be real thick to start with, but when you get through, you've seen how thin it is. It'll be real thin. And just start rolling it out. Okay, there's me another one. I'll dust my bowl with a little flour. And try to push down on it, and then you may have to help it, but it's starting to see how that one is. It's wanting to go all the way down, but just barely go around the edge of it and help it. And there you go, that one came out. And then we'll put it over here with the other one. Okay, that's how much the apples have cooked down, and that's what I've got left. But remember how full that skillet was? And now look at it. Oh, it smells so good in here. So now it's time to start stuffing our shells. Okay, at this point we're going to start making our pies. I've got my shells ready. I've got me a place to put the pie filling in my shells. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to seal the edges. But right here I've already turned my oil on just now to like a medium high, not all the way toward high, but like in between, right at medium. And over here we've got a rack that we're going to put them on once we get them out of the oil. And I've got a paper towel up underneath it to catch the oil. But right now we've got to wait till this oil gets good and hot, so we're going to start stuffing our pie shells. Okay, we're going to put about 2 tablespoons of the pie filling in it. Because you know, when you have an apple pie, you want to be able to taste enough of your pie filling in it to know you're eating an apple pie. So that's about 2 tablespoons, maybe 2.5, just on one side. And then what you're going to do, you're going to take your cup with a little water and wet your dough all the way around the edges. And that's going to help it stick. And don't forget, while you're working on these, go ahead and have your oil getting hot, and that's vegetable oil. I'm going to turn y'all this way. And then I'm going to take this side of the shell and just close the pie. Now first you want to use your fingers to start it getting it shut. That way if any of your pie filling comes out, you'll be able to work it back up in there, maybe like just sort of give it a good mash right in there, but not too hard. You don't want to break your shell. And then you're going to take you a fork, and then you're going to go all the way around your pie crust and give it just that little fork indention. And if you use one of these or some kind of little tray, that'll help you be able to turn it. Okay. Now I'm going to get me a plate and put these on until my oil gets hot so I can work on another one. Okay, we're going to just take our apple pie and place it over there on the plate and be very easy with it. You got to be gentle with it and just place it over here on your plate until you get ready. Now before you start on your next one, so your dough don't get wet, take you a paper towel and keep your little tray dry, or whatever you're using, where you put that water on the edge of that shell. Now take your other one, place it down in there, and do the same, except this time I'm going to get me a spoon. It'll make it a lot easier getting my filling out other than that little blue spatula. All right, we're going to put a good 2. Let me get that little piece up I dropped. I don't want it on my edge. Like, make it not close up good. Keep it as dry and clean as you can right in there. All right, that's about my 2.5 tablespoons. All right, I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to go ahead and use my finger. It's clean. And I'm going to wet my shell. Or if you don't want to use your finger, you could always use a brush. And my oil's getting hot. I hear it over there. So we got to get busy. But you want it good and hot. All right, take your little water and go around the edges and wet that dough up real good. Clean that up. You don't want that on the outside of it. Move that so it don't melt my spatula over there close to that pan that's getting hot. All right, and go around the edge of that pie shell just like that. These are old-fashioned apple pies. And give it a good mash so it goes down through the other pie shell on the back side. And now we're going to be real gentle and pick it up and place it over there. And then we're going to dry that back off and keep on going. Now this one right here, if you have one like that that tried to come open, just take a little of that water and it'll shut it right up. I'll use the brush this time and show you how you can use a brush. But you got to be real careful because the brush will get it more wetter than you really want it. We'll turn it this way, smooth that out just a little. Then we're going to fold it. Get you a little water. Fold that piece that come loose right there. And then we're going to take our fork and do our little indentions in our pie shell all the way around it. Okay, we're going to go over here now and check our oil and see if it's hot enough. Alright, right here I have a little extra piece of dough that I had left over. I'm going to drop it down in there. And see, that's not hot enough. You want it really sizzling whenever you get ready to add your pie. But it's getting there. Let's let it go a little bit longer and we'll make us another pie. It started floating right there. It's almost ready. I'm going to give it about 5 more minutes before I put my pies in. Okay, my oil's hot enough. I'm going to go ahead and go and drop down 2 of them. We're going to go ahead and do the 2 that we done first. And be real careful because that oil is hot. Very hot. But drop them down in there real easy. Okay. And we're going to use this big spatula of Travis's to flip them. If I have to flip them and get them out. All over here where y'all can see them. The oil is good and hot, but you don't want it real too hot because they'll brown too fast, and you want them to have time in the oil for the dough to actually cook. So cook them slow, but good and hot. That's old-fashioned fried apple pies. Let's let them cook and then we'll flip them and get them out. Okay, I'm going to flip them with these forks. Real easy. And let them cook on this side. And that was my first 2. Don't want them to get too brown. I want them to be just a light golden brown. And then when they come out, we're going to even add a little bit of this cinnamon and sugar on top. I'm going to flip them one more time and then we'll be getting them out of the oil. Okay, I'll let that side cook just for a minute and then I'm fixing to take them out. Because I don't want them to get too brown. Okay, these are fixing to come out. I'm going to take this Let me make sure y'all can see. Yep, y'all can see. We're going to take this spatula, this big one. Be real careful. Don't burn yourself with that oil. And try to let the oil drip a little bit and come off. And then we're going to take it and we're just going to place them right here on this rack. And then we're going to do the other one the same way. Just place it right there beside the other one. And then I'm going to set this over here out of my way because I'm fixing to add my other two. Now these two will probably brown faster because once your oil gets hot, your other two will brown faster than the first one. So you got to be real careful so you don't burn them. We'll actually cut that down just a hair. All right, real easy. Let it go down in the oil. I'm actually putting the little fork decoration on the other side of these because I want it on both sides. Real easy. Let it go down in the oil. See how they're floating? While those are cooking, we're going to work on another one over here. Now we're going to take these two out. We're going to flip them one more time. Well, they're golden brown. We're going to take them out of the oil. Hold them right there for just a minute and let your oil drain. And then put them over here on your cookie sheet to let the oil drain off. Now that is a fried apple pie. All right, let's put two more in. Drop them down in there easy and slow because that oil is very hot. Okay, that's what they're turning out to look like. I'm going to let them cool. I'm going to finish the other three that I've got to finish, or actually 5, counting the 2 in the skillet right now. And when I get them plated up and stacked up together, I'll show you what they look like. Okay, here's our last 2. We used every drop of our pie filling, our canned apples that we canned. There's 2 more in the oil. They're almost done. And here's what the stack that I've got. And I'm going to be stacking them up on that plate, I believe. It's a lot of work, but it's all worth it in the end, y'all. That way you can see your family eating your pies, because a family that eats together stays together. Y'all remember that. So all the work is going to pay off at the end. But, whew, fried apple pies is a tough job, girls, or whoever's cooking them. but they're so good at the end. It's all worth it. Okay, y'all, here's the apple pies after I got them stacked in my plate like I wanted to do them. Crisscross them and stack them as high as you can get them. But there you go. That's fried apple pies.